Hi everybody, welcome back to our short series on the book of Joshua in the Bible. This is part 2. If you haven't watched part 1, you can find it here. For those that have watched, we left off after the destruction of Ai, where Joshua used deceptive tactics to murder everyone in the town and putting the king's body on a spike. You know, like what Vlad the Impaler used to do to people. And he's the guy that inspired Count Dracula, one of the most famous villains of all time. I'm sure Joshua's fine, though. Okay, so we are going to keep going with chapter 9. I'm out of fingers. I only have 8. Joshua has wiped out 2 cities, killed kings, plundered, stoned allies to death, and built a monument out of river rocks on a hill. And probably fucked a whore to save her life. Guess that was some nice pussy. Oh well. Anyway, we're picking up with chapter 9. It turns out every king around went WTF and banded together for war. In the meantime, the folks from Gibeon had different ideas. They went all stealth mode and came up with the worst excuse for a deception tactic. They dressed in trashy clothes, got moldy food, and went to Joshua saying they wanted to make all nice, saying, "We're from a land far, far away, and we want to be all cool with you and shit." Joshua fell for it and made peace without asking God if they weren't a total narc or something. 3 days later, Joshua figured it out and walked up to the gates of those towns pissy about getting lied to. But he couldn't fuck their shit up because they did promise to play nice. So instead, Joshua made them lumberjacks, and that's okay, and water camels for the advancing army. In short, and this is the stupidest part of all of this, this time, they were actually justified to fuck their shit up. They lied. That's against the 10 Commandments, and they said, "Oh no, fuck it, we could use them." Thus, Joshua being just as much out of grace as the liars did in the first place. An entire chapter dedicated to Joshua being a tool. Good job. He looks so fucking competent now. Chapter 10. Next up is the king of Jerusalem. Adonai-Zedek is his name, and dude is shitting his pants. Joshua has allies, ripped 2 cities a new asshole, and then burned that asshole. Spicy food. Oh well. So, what does he do? He attacks Joshua, right?
Betcha you're wrong.
Correct. He gets a bunch of his friends from Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Elgon, and attacked Gibeon. Gibeon, because they're allied with Joshua. I mean, really. It's Joshua you're all supposed to be afraid of, so why not attack him and deal with the dissenters after? Anyway, of course Gibeonites asked for help from the attack, and of course Joshua comes running. God tells them they're invincible. They march all night and take the army by surprise and defeat them. As the army retreated, Joshua ordered the sun to stand still and the moon to stand still. In essence, God made the earth stop rotating. What the actual fuck? Okay, so I know that this is a cute story, well, relatively speaking, but up until this point, everything was kinda plausible. But this is just plain stupid. If the Earth stopped rotating, everyone on Earth would go flying at several hundred miles an hour. But let's say God prevented that and gave them inertial dampeners. God did as Joshua commanded. God did as Joshua commanded. Let that sink in a minute, will you? In the meantime, Joshua trapped the 5 kings in a cave, slaughtered most of the retreating armies, and came back to see the kings. he humiliated them all and put their bodies up on poles for display after killing them. Now, Joshua took them down and put them back into the cave and left them there to rot. They conquer Makeda and kill off their kings that had nothing to do with any of this shit. Then to Libnah, who had nothing to do with any of this killing their king off. Pretty much Joshua goes on a blood rage, killing Gezer, Elgon, Hebron, Debir, and completely obliterated all the people of the Negev. So, 9 cities laid to waste for nothing more than existing. All 9 were on the defense from this invading army of Israel, whom ravaged across the landscape, killing and murdering anyone in their path. Like Genghis Khan, only more brutal. Hell, Vlad the Impaler didn't do half the shit Joshua did. Chapter 11. Yes, I need to remind you, we're only done with chapters 9 and 10. We're still planning to go up to chapter 16 today. We're going to sum all this up pretty quickly. The northern kings are concerned about Joshua's invading army. They band together as well with a massive army. Joshua attacks them and kills them as they are running away until not one is left alive. Joshua kills the king of Hazor, the leader of the local kings in the south, and finishes conquering the southern states of Canaan, killing every man, woman, and child. I wonder if they let any of the other whores live from the other cities. Yeah, probably not. Not good enough pussy. Joshua just kills everyone like the bloodthirsty Mongol god tells him to. Keep in mind, all this murder is commanded by God himself. Everyone in every corner of Canaan is killed by Israel. No kidding. That is the entirety of chapter 11, showing how badass Joshua is by killing everyone that could actually be a witness of what is going on. Now that the Canaanites, whom also worshipped Yahweh by the way, were all dead and destroyed, chapter 12 gives a list of everyone they fucked up just in what is now Israel. 31 kings in all are supposed to have died at the hands of Joshua. This week so far has been a kill them all and let God sort them out. In the meantime, keep in mind, this is all Joshua and God running in and murdering innocent people that were peaceful as a nation with each other. They held ownership in the Canaanite pantheon, which I need to recall included El and Yahweh, the Israeli God and his father. None of this bloodshed was needed if their God could just tell Canaan to move the hell out. So biblically, God wanted to murder all of them. Chapter 13 and 14. Joshua is an old motherfucker at this point, and God tells him so. Dude, you are way past beekeeping age. So God told him he himself would drive out anyone left in the promised land. God would. You know, the thing he could have done in the first place, so no one had to kill anyone. The rest of chapters 13 and 14 is God telling Joshua and the Israelites how to divvy up the land between the tribes. And some people that went and helped got nothing. Some got food, while others got jack shit. Others get huge areas to rule over. The 2 chapters end with long talk about how Caleb is getting the hill countries where he explored. Other than that, nothing really much here. The only thing I want to ask is, what did they do with the bodies of all the people they burned and shanked? They left them there to rot. Now in chapter 15 we find something cute. The allotment for Judah. You know, the tribe that hosted the guy they all stoned to death. Massive. Absolutely massive. I guess God wanted them to have money for killing the guy, but I digress. First thing Joshua does, gives away parts of Judah. Now the most entertaining part of everything in this chapter makes one have to reference back to the start of the book. No one will be able to stand up against Joshua and the Israelites. Do you remember that? I do. Chapter 15, verse 63. Judah could not dislodge the Jebusites, who were living in Jerusalem. To this day, the Jebusites live there with the people of Judah. And the Jebusites weren't one of the cities Joshua allied with. So I guess there was someone Joshua couldn't stand against. Fancy fucking that. Anyone else they couldn't stand against? Chapter 16 is a short one, and it's more passing out of land for Joseph's portion of the stolen land and blood money. So they get a bunch, but the Canaanites living in Gezer, I don't care if I'm pronouncing this wrong. It looks like Gezer, and I'm pronouncing it as Gezer. The Gezers can't be driven out. I suppose they weren't allowed on their lawns or something. So that's two peoples that were able to stand against Joshua and the Israelites, and technically God himself, since God said he would take care of it back in chapter 13. In fact, I'm looking over the rest of the book, and it's all just partitioning out land and talking about people they can't stand up against until chapter 20. So I think we'll pick up at chapter 20 next week instead of starting at chapter 17. It's just getting redundant of, hey, this land is your land, this land is my land, from Israelis. I don't know. Bad songs. So what did we learn? Joshua and God were written to take over all the lands God told Joshua he could have. Joshua spent most of his life conquering the area and killing Canaanites. God was going to finish everyone off. Joshua didn't, or at least get them to fuck off somewhere else. And then the problems start. There were several cities that did stand against Joshua and Israel that they couldn't defeat, and they decided they were okay. God himself couldn't rid some people, so that kind of goes against God's all-powerful gimmick, and could be thought of as a lie. Because, well, he said that no one could stand up against him. And God knows everything, right? Right? Joshua, in essence, has committed acts of genocide against several kings and micronations. He then passed out land to his followers like candy to take over the entire area, while other loyal followers got literally nothing at all. No promised inheritance whatsoever, meaning God lied to them about giving them inherited land. Two lies now. We are starting to get a clear and concise answer to the questions we wanted to know. Next week, we'll be finishing this series off and getting to the heart of the matter. In the meantime, I am Corsi, and this is the Fluffy Atheist. Like what you see, pet those like and sub buttons. And remember, if you've faith around, I will help you find out what your Bible really says.